Network. ZNS Network. ZNS Network. Bahamas.
The views expressed on this show, interview, or program are not necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. What's the secret of change? We don't fight the old. Instead, we focus on building the new. Welcome to the Table of Change. Come on in and have a seat at our table.
I'm going to remind you of the date. It's March 4th, 2025. We are on Table of Change. I missed you last week. Did you miss me? Oh, I can hear you saying yes. I can hear you saying yes. Table of Change. I'm going to let you know a little of what we're about tonight. We are transforming the culture of service. You know all those bad things we usually do? We're trying to change that to make it better tomorrow. What you have to say about that?
I got a positive story. Jackie, I got a praise report. Whoa. And I want you all to hold on to your seat because guess what? I ain't talking bad, but you might believe where the praise report is coming from. Had the experience to go to the South Beach Clinic. Now, you know you take a deep breath every time you have to go to the clinic. That ain't talking bad. You don't want to go. No one wants to be sick or have to deal with the whole environment. Went to the South Beach Clinic, Jackie, came across Demeter Francis, came across the 3 young ladies in the front that sign you in and give you your mask. Then I met a wonderful doctor, Dr. Knowles. The whole process was done within 2.5 hours. I'm sorry, I think that's a praise report. Mm-hmm. You can go to the private doctor and you could take longer than 2.5 hours and be completed. And not only was I completed, I felt like I was heard, I was listened to, I was prioritized. Wow. And guess what? I was even welcome, Jackie. I felt welcome. The environment was clean, it was friendly, and it was conducive to the service that they were giving. So I just want to give a shout out to the South Beach Clinic, and then it gets even better. Better, girl. Better is a word today. So it got better. The person I was with had to go to the orthopedic section at PMH. Okay, that's another take a deep breath story. Because you know when you got to deal with PMH and you got to get there 8 o'clock and you got to find parking and you got to walk in the heat and you got to walk to Swaziland to get up to the ward. But anyway, I'm going to take that away, Lord. That distracted from the good praise report. Mm-hmm. Got there and there were at least 50 people waiting, and they were all about the hallway, and you can imagine broken legs and limbs, and it was depressing, to be honest with you. But a ray of sunshine came through the door. One of the nurses. I do not remember your name, and I so regret not getting your name, but she was a ray of sunshine. She assured us, okay, we have a lot of you in today. You're in the hallway. Some of you aren't able to fit inside the actual doors. But I tell you what, we have like another section. I promise you, if I call your name, I'm going to go to the other section and you will be served today. Mm-hmm. We waited for another 20 minutes. Nothing happened. Then she came out and she, from the depths of her heart, she apologized for the fact that the 2 doctors were running late. Her apology was sincere. I felt like it was heart sincere. She gave a valid excuse of why the doctors were late, reminding us that they have to do emergency surgeries and they have to deal with the wards and different things when they're coming down to see the patients in the waiting room because it's not an emergency. So I just want to give a shout out to PMH, South Beach Clinic, that nurse for just being a ray of sunshine. And then, Jackie, something happened. She had to deal with a difficult customer. Mm-hmm. And even I was like, oh, man, don't do it, man. Don't suck the air out the room. That lady being so nice today. One of the patients said that he was told to come back on that particular day.
Okay.
One of the nurses overheard him talking and said, I don't think she told you that because that particular doctor would not be in on that day. So that wouldn't quite make sense for her to tell you to come back today. Anyway, it was a little heated, a little back and forth, but the nurse was very patient. And honestly, I didn't think she had to be because it was really, really crowded, but she was really professional and she was really giving him the benefit of the doubt by not saying, I ain't tell you that.
Okay.
Ain't no way I tell you that. But try to subtly smooth it over by saying, no, that didn't happen. It made it more credible by the other nurse coming forward and saying, no, because that doctor isn't in today. And I just want to say, in that situation at that time, it's never the opportunity to be rude. But I would have understood why she would have been a little bit impatient. Because at that time, they were really up against a lot. There were a lot of patients to be seen. The nurses were tense because the 2 doctors were running late. But I just want to we have to always applaud where service is good.
Yes.
And because of her attitude, she took away my gloom. In our eyes, we see stuff. We have a perception of darkness and gloom because I've already created that in my heart. You heard me talk about the walk from the parking lot. You heard me talking about going to the ward. You heard me talking about how depressing it was seeing the people. So all that gloom was there, and she just uplifted me. And for a minute, I forgot I was in PMH.
And can I tell you, Tamara, what made it so easy for you to be uplifted is because that nurse or that doctor, communication, that's all we want. We just want you to tell us what's happening, keep us up to date, make us feel like we're important because we are. And that's what Table of Change, we are going to transform the culture of service.
But now tonight on Table of Change now, we know there's all kind of things involved and why we don't get the service that we deserve or the service that we need. Some people, Jackie and I were talking the other day after we had Kendall Lewis on the show, and he was such a positive, effective male on the topic of the Gentleman's Club. That was the week before, because remember, guys, last week we missed and Kendall Lewis was on the show. And after we call it the show after the show. Sometimes, you have the meeting after the meeting. Yes. We have the show after the show. And Table of Change listeners, tonight, we have Kendall Lewis and his wife, Claudette Lewis. I want you to know that this couple, this is the real. This ain't the fake. This is the real nitty-gritty journey into a faith-based marriage, into a marriage that shows the commitment of 2 individuals. Because you have 2 individuals coming together to be one, and it was just fascinating to sit there and listen. And Kendall, I have to tell you, it was refreshing to hear from a mature man with a view of marriage and not just a view of I am right, I am male, and beating your chest. I really appreciated that, and it was so welcoming. So we said, Jackie and I was like, how are we going to make this a show? What could we? These individuals are so different in their own right, and they bring so much to the table. It's like, but then now together, you can really see the dynamics of a power marriage and how a power couple coming together, how it's going to change your whole view of marriage. So tonight on Table of Change, you guys, let me tell you, get your tea, get your wine, call your friend, okay? If your husband in the next room, subtly ask him to come in to listen, because we're doing the raw talk of a marriage, a kingdom marriage, and what it takes to function in a 2025 marriage. Those of you listening, call 325-5403 if you have any questions. And remember, our Family Island customers, 300-8255. You can call in with your questions. But right here tonight, Kendall Lewis, Claudette Lewis. Welcome to Table of Change.
Nice to have you.
There was so much demand to have you back on the show, Kendall. And I just wanted to say thank you for taking up the offer, and thank you for, opening up. As I know it's a lot to make yourself, to bear yourself. Sometimes we're saying to bear your marriage. So the first question, we're going to kick it right off. How did you meet this beautiful woman?
Oh, Lord. I'm going to skip over some details, but I would say I met her in a place that no person would want to be. And when I met her, I saw her, and I said, Lord, forgive me, because I said, I would like to make her mine. I was 4 years afterward, and she always tell the story so braggadociously. Oh, I wasn't paying him no mind. I didn't even see him. And yeah, that's fine. But the word of the Lord says, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord. And it wasn't easy. And, when I introduced myself to her, I told her I wanted to take out to lunch. She was like, who, me? What you could do for me, or all this. And typical one day story. But when you are persistent and consistent in knowing what you speak, as we go back to Genesis, God said, "What Adam, whatever you name it, that's what it is. I'm not getting in your way. Whatever you name it." And I name it. I name it mines. I went after it. By God's grace and favor, today we're married. So even though I skipped so many details, some of the things was I had to come out of my own way. She had to come out of her own way. I want to talk a second about the becoming part, because many persons skip the becoming part. The becoming part means you first have to tear apart to come apart. And come apart means to come apart of what you're supposed to be. You have ideologies, mindsets, ideas on what we thought marriage would be. You talk about the Knox Landing marriage, the Days of Our Lives marriage, the Dallas marriage. These are the days that I grew up with, watching all of these TV shows, and even the Cosby Show, how you would want to see marriage. Just when TV and the things that they used to show about relationship was more clean and pure, where the family could have sit and enjoy. You talk about the Brainy Bunch, Family Matters, all of these things, and you understand the ups and downs. And yet you try to figure out now, and here's the kicker, what is my version of my marriage, not the TV version. Because you could try to fit in the TV version with you, but is that the assignment? Is that your assignment or your purpose that God has allowed you to come together?
Now, when you say, okay, you looked at her and you said she's the one. Some may say, what did you see? What was the attraction? Are you telling me you saw her soul?
Yeah, I saw beyond the natural. I saw different. Not excluding that those that were in my life prior to, it wasn't something unique about them. But this is my journey of maturing, because before her, I was in an immature state. I was maturing to the version of myself that I wanted to be. I was maturing to the version of the man, husband, and father I wanted to be. I was not nowhere close the version of the man I wanted to be that I am today, and I'm still maturing. I'm still in the process of maturing. And like I said before, when I apologized last week, and I could apologize again, because sometimes it's the silhouette of a man or the silhouette of a male, let me correct that causes a lot of females to withdraw themselves from any relationship with another man, because they're still carrying around burdens and pain and hurt that we cause. We cause it. You understand? And I want to be honest. We cause it. And we cause it. And then we go from bad to bad. As if it takes away the pain. It doesn't take away the pain. It adds pain. Because some of the relationships that you were in prior to becoming into who you want to become, some of them were real when you were immature enough to recognize it. Some of them were sincere that they could have grown into more, but you were immature. I was immature enough to see it. I couldn't see it. I was like the Burger King slogan, "Have it your way."
Claudette, now he said you met in a place that you wouldn't necessarily want to meet in. So now he met you. What's Claudette thinking to herself?
Well, actually, he always would say that, but apparently he saw me, but I didn't see him.
True.
And I remember I never wanted to be married. It was not my forte. I always said that I would have me one child, and I would travel the world, me and my whatever God blessed me with. And there was a point that I knew God, but I didn't have a relationship with God. And it was in 2015 that I decided to start having a relationship with God, because I started to realize that everything that I did, the progress was only half circle. And that, it was December 31st, 2015. I was sitting by my girlfriend, and I said to her, you know, Nika, we've been doing things this way for so many years. I said, but I've never considered of giving God a chance. Mm-hmm. And I changed my whole life. I took a 360, a full 360. And I said, now, these relationships, I said, they're not working for me. I'll never forget, I went to service, and man of God said, God is going to break that wall that you have so high. He's going to break it down. And he's going to, this man, he started describing this man. And I went home and I prayed, and I listen, God. I said, man, you ain't mad. I said, how is it that you could show all these people what my husband looked like, and you ain't show me? I dreamt. He literally showed me, and I tell God, I said, no, it can't be. I said, no. I say, no, it can't be.
So wait, he showed you him, and you had the audacity to say, no, God, it can't be.
Yes, because in my mind, see, women have to mature as well. And in my mind, you know, I'm thinking that he is this, I had this particular mindset on what he is, what his, and what type of person he is, his employment, you know, because I had that mindset. And I said, no, I said, God, it can't be.
So, Claudia, let's just say it. Just say it the Bahamian way. When God showed you him, what did you say?
I say no.
No, and why did you say no? What was it adding up?
Mind you, the looks was there.
Okay.
The height was there.
Okay.
The build was there.
Okay.
But there were some things that I like that, because I always dated professional men, like doctors. I had a type. I had a type.
Of
I
course.
say no. I said, God, it can't be so. I tell God no. And there was this song. I never heard the song before, because I never really used to listen to gospel. And this song, and I got up out of my sleep and said, the one I kept for you. I said, the one you kept for me. And I called my friend. I said, is there a song called The One I Kept For You? So she said, yeah, Google it on YouTube. When I Googled it on YouTube, I said, oh, interesting. So I started talking to him more, because when God, it is one thing to get the word, and it's one thing when God shows you. Because I said, I had this ideology of what a marriage should be before, because I changed my life, and I said, now you know you can't say you're serving God, and then you're still doing the things of the world. So that's when I started talking. Like we met, and we went from there. And then we end up here.
Wow.
Now, guys, we always have the people late to the meeting now. We 15 minutes into the show, so those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking to a couple tonight, Kendall Lewis and Claudette Lewis, and we're getting the, just the pure facts about marriage and life in 2025. And we're just going to throw out some questions out there, and you have any questions that you may want to ask, please feel free to call 325-5403 or 300-8255. Now, we're talking to Kingdom people in the place, right? How do we feel about shacking up? How do we feel about that? Jackie, you go first.
Shacking up was never something that I liked, and shacking up really don't even have to be someone who stay over for like you live together permanently. I think you shack it up even if it's for 2 hours, 3 hours. You know, you still shack it up. So that's not the place to be. But we're not leaving out even the people who are not kingdom people right now, because even from their relationship, they were not always there. Like you had to find yourself, and you had to find yourself. So we're saying now, listen, don't worry about where you are at the moment. You will get to where you need to be when you find out that relationships are not you're not benefiting anything. You will get to be the kingdom people. But shacking up is not. I don't feel like it's right. Not that it would not happen in a relationship. It can start off like that, but don't sit there. Don't stay there. And for the ones who don't have to do that, that's the great start.
Well, I shacked up. We shacked up before we got married. It was during the pandemic. And I'll tell you this much. You know, there's a song, say, take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing. And it have its good and its bad. Because marriage is not a formatory school. You have to learn the do's and the don't. What ticks off your partner, and to see if you're able to live with that. I'm not telling you. See, I don't have the monopoly, and I'm not going to tell you that I am without sin. Not because I believe doesn't mean that I didn't fall.
Right.
I'll be the first to tell you that. Yes, I did shack up. But one thing I don't do, I don't fly in God's face. So I don't pretend to be holy. No. I knew that we were shacking up, and a decision had to be made. Now, the road that we took, should we have taken it? I can't answer that, because what worked for me may not work for others. Yeah. That's a journey that you have to go on, and you have to reach that journey together. So some persons, they don't shack up. Some persons, they would just set their date and however they do their stuff. But I'm not as young as I was, so I knew in my mind that I am only doing this thing once. And I don't want to make no mistake. Not saying that nobody knows the plan of God and the mind of God only unless God himself reveals it. So I wouldn't say that it's wrong. I'm saying that maybe you should take another route, but whatever works for you, I'm not going to judge anybody. I can't judge. Whatever you do, that you got to do what you got to do.
Make your own decisions.
Mr. Lewis, you're scratching your head. You're scratching your head. What you have for us?
Yeah, because I want to bring it from the perspective of a word that we use so naturally. And we use the word compromise. So we're going to bring shacking up from the perspective where people say it's a compromise. Whatever your compromise is, we're just going to use it as compromise. So let's look at it. Compromise means to settle for less than, settle for under, not what it should be, but to be under something. So, but if you keep studying compromise, in compromise, you'll be able to understand it from what I would say a positive perspective, or a positive meaning. That means compromise also means a starting point. Now, a starting point means this is where I start, but you still have some people today in their starting position.
It's still there.
You still have some people in their starting position. They have not moved from the finish line as yet to say, okay, I then pass the finish line. I on 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters. You have to start, but is that your end game? And that's what it is for me. If you start there, it shouldn't end there. Because a lot of persons even use that word compromise. Okay, come as you are. When you come as you are into the kingdom, after 5-10 years, are you the same way as you started, as you come into the kingdom? So it's the same thing with compromise. A lot, and we compromise with that word compromise so comfortably. So comfortably. And I would say, before we go any further, if we as men don't raise the standard, science always says that the females mature quicker than men. I believe that if we don't raise the standard again, if we don't uplift or uphold the standard that we've been given, and the females, because they outnumber us more today, they're going to settle, and no female wants to settle. But what are they settling for? And so it shouldn't be no compromise. It shouldn't be no compromise from what you do where you are. As you learn and as you grow, I'm going to use myself. As I learn and as I grow in the things of God, I realize I couldn't give myself no more excuses. I couldn't just compromise with some of the things that I felt comfortable with. I had to come out of my own way to make sure that what I believe the standard of a man and a husband that God wanted me to be, that I could live it. I can do it, because I have to be answerable for it. And then as a steward, I have to be accountable for my wife, our kids, and everything else. And so I couldn't no longer live in a compromising place. I might have started from a compromising place, but I had to mature out of that place. And that's what it is for me.
You know, I like the answer you gave. Kevin, we're going to get with you in one moment. I just want to give my views on shacking up. When you're in love and you're 18, it could be magical, it could be goo-goo, and it could be gaga, right? But at some point, we got to put some logic into this love, okay? And when you're thinking, see, it's good to say I'm not shacking up because you're 18, you're going from your parents' house into this man's house. But if you're later on in life and you've already been divorced, you've already been burned, you've already got one child, you're trying to now include someone else in your life, to sit there on that throne and say, I'm not shacking up, I need to know you. I need to know the ins and the out of you, because now the saved me knows what a commitment I'm making to God. You know, that may sound crazy, but I know what this commitment is I'm making, and I don't have time to do it again. And I don't have time to be in the daydream of this is Lala. It's going to work because of what it is. Because you're in different stages. You have different commitments. You have different, you know, some people are coming into marriage with only love. Some people are coming into marriage with properties and multi-triplex and a whole nother family that they have to provide for. You know, so I always remember when I'm giving a conclusion on something that we can't be all black and white. But I want to be black and white. I want the world to be black and white if we go by God's word. But we always have to have that be the basis. So in terms of shacking up, my view is if you're shacking up to a conclusion, we are both in this knowing that it's going to lead to here. We're giving it so-and-so date for it to move to here, and we're working towards our savings and our house and our this and our that, and at the whatever 1 year mark or 2 year mark after we shack up, we're going to say we're doing this, and this is the start, we're doing it. Because the wedding's going to cost money, the house is going to cost money, that man still has prior commitments to another household if he had children before, this woman still has commitments to this other household. Everyone didn't get the lala of being 18 and wearing the white dress. Some people came big and grown at 35. And with that came big grown-up responsibilities that love just don't 100% got it sometimes. I could need a little more than that, okay? But Keva, thank you so much for being so patient. Keva, if you're still there, please give us your question, Keva. Unmute your microphone and give us your question.
I sent something in the group that my thought process went away. I had something to say, but I literally, and I was listening to Mr. Lewis, and I think him talking about the compromise, I think you use a statement which I say, oh, that is so good. I think compromise comfortably or something like that you said. I said, yeah, and my thought process, what I was about to say, literally went out the door. But I'll just pick up with that comfortable. We get so comfortable in, and I agree with Mr. Lewis, we get so comfortable in compromising that it becomes the norm
Right.
for society to shack up, which is not a part of what the word says, but but to shack up, and we move away from God's design, from what a relationship's supposed to be like, especially a marriage relationship. And so I am unapologetically, even before my faith was as strong as it is today, I was without question against shacking up. Um, Again, but without offending anybody, but that was just my stance, knowing who God is and knowing His word. And I did, like again, I said, it wasn't as strong as I am, but even now, so in the kingdom of God, knowing that that was not His as design for that type of relationship to be under one.
Okay, something went wrong, but I would add this tomorrow. I just feel like if I would to, like if you've been shacking up or have bad experience when you're young and it didn't work out, for me, I would be frightened to do it when I'm older. Because I'm feeling like, okay, I'm old enough. I already know what happened back in the day. I'm gonna do it right this time. So for me, older would be too frightened. Like I'm like, no, I made the mistake young. I'm getting old. We're gonna do this the right thing. You could save your money over there. We love each other. Let's just do it apart. Not that I just wouldn't want to shack up because I already lost my younger years when I was doing it. I'm not gonna try and do that again. I can try something different.
We got a question for you. We got a question typed in. She said to ask you, Kendall, there's 7 days in a week. Both you and your wife work. Who is going to cook? Or who should cook?
Both of us. There, with 7 days out of the week, I could say I do not leave home without my breakfast. 7 days out of the week.
Because
Who's
you
making
make it
it?
or the wife make it?
She makes.
The wife makes
she does breakfast 7 days out of the week. When I tell her, okay, we fasting or I'm fasting, that's the only time. And in the night or weekends, holidays, I cook. I don't have that problem with cooking. I cook, I clean, I iron, I wash, I mop. We do things together. We do these things together. There are many ways. And one thing with my wife, she said to me, she said, there are many inexpensive ways that you can spend time together.
Mm-hmm.
And the spending time together comes in meal prep. If she's cooking or I'm cooking, even as simple as sardine or tuna, however else, if I have to be there in the morning and cut up the herbs and she do this and she do that, and we have conversation over that, or have conversation over coffee, or have conversation why clothes are being sorted out and washed and why clothes are being folded up and everything, while if I sweep, she would mop, or if she sweep, I would mop, however the case may be. And that's what we do. You know, you have to look at ways, like you talk about in this 2025 marriage today. Growing up, my dad was like, oh, I don't want my boys to be doing no housework like they soft, or the housework was reserved for the girls. And my mother say, no way in the world. Say, my boys will not be held hostage to that. Say, I know me, us women. Say, we could hold you hostage that we don't have to cook for you, we don't have to clean for you, and then what you can do, starve or wear dirty clothes or all of these things. So I was blessed to have my mother to grow me into that. And to me, it's an honor to serve my home, serve my family, serve my wife with cooking, ironing and cleaning and everything else. I'll stand up to the ironing board and iron clothes if I have to for a week. All of that is a part of service. Jesus says man ought to love the wife as Christ loved the church. He said, I didn't come to be served, but to serve. And so when he said, I come to be served, we have to do the service, and we take on that service. And so to me, that's an honor. That's not beneath me.
Yeah. What Claudette, what encouraged you? What encouraged you to, after you start the first breakfast and the second breakfast, what encouraged you to do that every morning?
I'm a breakfast person. I'm a morning person. From I knew myself, I had before I got married, I had a son, and every morning, I get up and I prepared his breakfast. So basically, that is something that I was already used to. So I'm up every morning, 4:30, sometimes 5 a.m. I take a bath, I go downstairs and I just prepare breakfast, and it doesn't take anything off of me because it is something that I was always used to.
Right.
So, son went off to college, and it just got a bigger kid. So, but
Once a man, twice a child.
but I love preparing breakfast, and it's a joy. And I tell him, I said, now listen, I ain't across your area because you're the men season fish. He just know how to season those fish. So I do most breakfast, and he would do most of the dinners because I like 5-minute meals. If you like me, I like 5-minute meals. Literally, I enjoy 5-minute meals. I'm not a big eater. I'm very picky with food.
Very.
Very, very picky. So
I like that. I like to know that you was doing breakfast before, so it was not something hard for you. Now we're going to talk to the women or the men who really don't like doing it, who are not a morning person, but they get up anyhow and fix the breakfast. Like, what? I wish someone could call me. What do you need tomorrow? What do you need to do something if it's a push to do it?
But you know what I heard? The way we worded it was like, who should cook and who should make the breakfast? Why don't we just say, get to a point in your marriage where who enjoys doing what?
Yeah.
Like she said, she enjoys making breakfast. To be honest with you, I don't like breakfast. I like lunch. And I would eat lunch 11 o'clock in the morning or leftovers from the night before. But I like the fact that she enjoys the breakfast and he enjoys making the dinner. So maybe we need to just get away from the role of this person does that in the marriage and just get the role of what you enjoy to do. But now let's be realistic. You got some people who enjoy nothing. So 7 days in the house and you got to eat. No one cooking the breakfast, no one cooking the lunch, no one cooking the dinner. What do you do then?
But love will give you energy
Lunch
to do
don't
it.
fill you up.
Yeah, but
Love don't fill you.
No. Love would give you the energy to get up and make breakfast for someone. Especially you do it the first time. You know what causes you to do it the second and the third and fourth time? The appreciation. The appreciation, because guess what? You're going to be doing the breakfast, but he's going to be doing something else that's going to encourage you to do the breakfast.
Okay. Y'all don't chalk me for this one.
Okay.
I enjoy watching my family eat. I know I have boys. I know I have a husband. And I know breakfast is the most important meal of the day. To be honest with you, I would make breakfast from my house and then heat up the crack on from the night before. Whilst they're eating the grits and the egg and the fruit and stuff like that. Because I enjoy knowing that my husband is going to have a hard day. He's not going to take the time to eat. I know how he is. He's going to work and work and work and work, and 3 o'clock is going to come, and he's not even going to have a meal for the day. So at least I know within myself he had something solid, you know? I know within my children, they need the fuel in order to think and to learn in school. So start off with that. I know they're not going to buy something balanced. So start off with something balanced. So if they only get the soda and the Snickers, when they come home, I want to make something heavy. I want to make that heavy meal because I enjoy watching them eat. I like the fact that it's controlling the family budget and we're eating healthy. So I think what I really want everyone to hear is do what you enjoy, but you got to enjoy something. You just, or you got to look at it in terms of what makes my house function. What makes my house function if my other half decides that he wants to have two meat, macaroni, and chicken for Sunday dinner. To be honest with you, I could go to bed off tuna and grits. It don't matter to me. But if that's what he want, okay, while you're doing that, let me clean the car because I know you always have this car like a mess. I know you live in this car. Yeah. I know all the leftover stuff from the week is in the car. Let me do that. So I just encourage people to stay away from roles. I think there's no roles anymore. It's what is it going to take to make this family function and to make this family flourish. Now we have another question. Marital rape. Kendall, you the man. You start that off. You start that off, but I'm going to drop that right in your lap. What is your views on marital rape?
Do you want the technical part of it or the non-technical part of it?
I think I can't get one without the other. I think I need both.
Okay, let me give it to you let me give it to you. We say we are in a Christian society, and the Christian society says the Bible, our Constitution, right? The Bible, people put it like this, is basic instructions before leaving earth, correct? Basic instructions before leaving earth. Kingdom-minded people puts the Bible as the Constitution. So if it's the Constitution and it is the law, there's a scripture in it that says that the wife body is no longer hers and the husband body is no longer his. So now we're going to bring it from the kingdom perspective. If a man serves or deals with his wife as Christ loved the church, that's self-sacrifice, right? That's self-sacrifice. He sacrificed himself, his needs, his wants, his will, for the sake of the church. Sarah called Abraham Lord. A man can't then rape his wife if she's going then by the Constitution that we hear women say that they believe in this Bible. The Constitution of the Bible, the Constitution of the Word. So the Constitution also says that if a man hurts his wife, he hurts his own flesh. Who's going to hurt his own self? That's self-inflicted pain. So when you're talking about marital rape, are you talking about those who are married kingdom-wise or those married for tradition? And then when they're married for tradition, they're married for ways where they know that they have not yet become one yet, that they're still battling with feelings and emotion, that certain things are not going their way. They don't adhere to certain things, and they didn't see certain things like this when they were growing up. Or they take now the world standard of marriage, not the God ordained way of marriage. There's no way in the world I'm going to force my wife. There's no way in the world my wife will not say to me no. I talking for myself. I'm not talking for anybody, right? Because here it is now. We do get angry sometimes. We do get upset sometimes. There are some times where we don't sleep separate and apart, but yet we still upset with each other. I'm not going to tell her, oh, this and oh, that, or whatever the case may be. No. We sit and we talk. Even if we don't talk, I could lay on the side of her as long as I have her on the side of me. I don't have to be. We get intimate and intimacy mix up.
Yep.
We really do get that mix up, right? And so you saying that you love somebody is not just sexually. You get to know the person. Big difference. So my take on marital rape from my standpoint is there's no such thing as marital rape for me. It is there. It is there because back to the Bible, the Constitution. Even Jesus told the lawgivers Pharisees and Sadducees, that you make laws for these people. And you yourself, when the burden of the law now come on these people, you who make the laws don't even lift your hand to even help them. Right? You don't lift your hand to help them. Where are the counselors, or where's the counselor before you got married? Are you still open to sit down and talk to the person or to seek advice that will help in that area? Or because you feel now that you're married, that no one can tell you what to do? Because as I'm still becoming, you're still becoming, we're still growing, we're still maturing. So persons will get mad and persons will get angry, yes. You make a conscious choice and a conscious decision with everything that you do. I choose to love my wife. I choose to serve my wife. I choose to do these things. Even when she's angry, even I joke around with her sometimes when she get angry and I tell her, I say, okay, well, you mad with me, but your body ain't mad with me. Two different. You understand? But this is how this is me and her. I could speak for me and her. I can't speak for me and everybody else. I could speak to you from a man's perspective with me and my wife. This is how I joke around with her. She said to me, we should always find something to laugh about. And rape isn't anything to laugh about. Rape isn't anything that any man should take lightly, should even feel lightly when they conversing, because there are some persons that have been traumatized by that. Your wife, before you meet her, might have been traumatized by that before you meet her, before you got married to her. And some actions that you portray may remind her of the trigger before then. Now, that might not be a part of the story that she might have said to you before marriage. But yet now, could you now nurture her when it comes to that place, when she now opens up to you and tell you that there are certain things that triggers her, that reminds her of?
Yeah, I know that but you did say this is your views. You would never do it.
Right.
But we have marriages with unsafe people as well. We have marriages of people who alcoholics. You have people who they get married, they sane people, but they do things. You could have a wife that knows that her husband is having a sweetheart. He's not even hiding it. But they still live in the same house. The wife still live in the same house. No, you get divorced, and if you don't have some place to go, they still allow you to live in the same house. He can come home after he's finished with his sweetheart. And if he's drunk, he can now want to have sex with her. And if she's saying no, go ahead.
If I may, see, the question that one would ask, that I would always ask, what is the relationship between the husband and the wife? Is there a third party? See, because a woman will never cry rape on her husband if her husband is playing his role. Now, the question is, what are their relationship like? Because when I look at the term, I look at it, rape is rape. Whether you're married or single, rape is rape. And if a woman says no, no means no. I don't think that you should put a word before rape. It's obvious that you live in two separate lives. So which means that you made a conscious decision, because everything we do is by choice. If you decided you cannot have three, so if you decided that you are going to have a third party and you and your wife have separated, not by paper, but you're in the process, a man should not force himself or rape that woman.
Agreed.
Right, you should not. But we're saying that it can happen.
It's rape.
it's rape. So were you agreeing that rape could happen between someone who's married?
Yes,
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 yes, because
yes, it could.
because
Yeah.
remember now, you living together, it's like you only sharing one
Co-inhabiting,
space,
yep.
but there is no relationship. There is three people can be in a relationship.
And even forget about the third person. Sometimes you could have your husband come. Maybe he's someone who just loves to have sex, and your body cannot take it, and you're just saying, honey, how we'll do tonight. And he is not what he wants, so he's going to overpower you.
I think what I like what Kendall said in terms of the dynamics of the marriage, in terms of why, I don't want to misquote you, but I think I heard in what you're saying in terms of how you living as husband and wife dictates, is this rape on the table? Because you have so many different issues that you're facing in the marriage, and that's why rape is becoming a topic. Now, I think all of us are clear to the fact of, yes, if someone is physically bringing their body onto you, you violently saying no, that is obviously rape. But I think we're focusing more today in terms of a committed, flourishing marriage. So when you hear someone may say rape doesn't exist because there is no. You want him as just as much as he wants you. And when you get into the topic of rape in a marriage, I think that marriage is basically over. And that's why
Something
it's
is wrong.
even a conversation. So when you hear people say you can't have rape within a marriage, I don't think they mean that. I think they mean in a committed marriage. And when you get into the conversation of rape, your marriage has taken a whole nother dynamics, a whole nother turn.
Here's the thing.
Probably not even a marriage anymore.
Society, and I want to say this respectfully. When God made man and woman, he said to be fruitful and multiply. That's procreation, right? That's procreation. That was God's agenda, God's plan. That was God's plan for us, not his agenda, his plan. Now, the enemy came up with an agenda to divide what God put together to move his plan away. His agenda is to divide genders. There cannot be procreation if the genders are divided. You cannot. So to divide the genders is to divide everything that God has planned for them. That's his agenda. Even though Jesus says that Satan and his kingdom is not divided, his kingdom is not divided, but he divided what God made. So in the division of that, you have persons that are good and evil, the place of the wheat and the tares. You say, wouldn't the wheat and the tares have to do with marital rape? Here's the thing. The Bible says, why man slept the enemy come and so tear among the wheat. Your marriage could be good. Things in your marriage could be good. The enemy come and plant some things, societal things, all these things. Philippians 4:6. Whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things of good report, think on these things. Here it is, we're supposed to be thinking on these things, right? These are the things we're supposed to be thinking on. But we now allow our eye gate, our ear gate, our mouth gate to be open to the things of the world outside of how it is we ought to be in the things of God. He who keeps his mind on me, I'll keep in perfect peace. Those who came from adverse situations, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so he's now renewing your mind and bringing you back into that place where he wants you. But the enemy, according to Isaiah, it says that anyone that departed from darkness, making himself a prey, right? So the enemy now wants to reclaim. The enemy wants not reclaim. The enemy wants to claim you, because when God created us, all of us were made in the image and the likeness of God. So when he split the agenda, when he split the genders for his agenda, he now bring all of these things that we now have. All of these things that we have is to, if you look at everything that is now being done today, it is being done so that a healthy marriage cannot exist in a family, that a healthy marriage cannot exist nowhere, because what it does is it shows a pure example of Christ and the church, a healthy, godly marriage. But now the enemy comes in and he sows his discord. He splits the gender. Said, Balaam and Balak, I cannot curse what God has blessed. Right? Multiple times. I cannot curse what God has blessed. But he said, I can give you a parable of mines. Exodus chapter 20, I think it's Exodus chapter 20. Or no, you'll find it in Numbers 20, 21, 22. I'll give you a parable of mines. And the parable is, if you divide them, you'll cause them to curse themselves. Many marriages today are cursed because they curse itself. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. They take on some things that they should not have taken on. They partake in some things that they should not have partaken. They allow more of society to scope out and cultivate their marriage than the marriage with God has planned for them from foundation.
Amen.
And so now what you're seeing now is that Paul said that which I will to do, I do not. That which I will not to do, that I find myself doing. And then I come to realize that it's no longer I, but the sin that is in me. Many persons don't want to take the responsibility because we are on table for change now. So table for change means you now have to put yourself to the table and change you. You have to change you. Too many times we're looking at everything in and around society, right? And we want to blame society for our situation. We want to blame society for the way that we are. We want to blame society for all of these things. And I know the producer is saying some things, so I'm going to go right after this, right? You cannot no longer, because we're on the table for change, allow society to change the life that God has called you into. It's either you're going to live your life according to man or live your life according to God. And I end with this when he said, I am lawful to all things, but not all things are expedient, meaning beneficial. I am lawful to all things, but not all things edify. For the marriage and the life that you want to live in, the God that you say that you serve, you, the individual, we, the individual, the married couple, have to understand what is good and expedient and beneficial for our marriage. Because now if we don't, Psalms 1 is going to be our portion. And that's what we're seeing today. We standing in the way of sinners and sitting in the seat of the scornful. And that's why the marriages in our society today is the way it is. We shaping the marriage after the world and not the marriage after the word.
Well, I want to say this. Before you get married, get to know God. Because you need that foundation, because you need something to keep you together, and you'll do it right. Because if the marriage is of God, there will be no rape.
Now, Claudette, what in a woman has to subside in order for her to increase as a powerful wife, as a good wife?
I think I'm a good wife. I can only speak for me. I know what my duties are. See, the word of the Lord says, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor. And I am favor. Whatever comes to our marriage, it's favor. Our marriage is blessed. And I always say to my husband, a little level, leave it a whole lump. So I have to be careful on what it is that I do, because God has given me a helpmate. I don't expect for my husband to do everything 100%. I have to meet him halfway, just as well as he has to
Today's date?
Halfway. So, I consider myself to be a good wife. Am I perfect? Oh, of course not. But I have crazy faith. I stand on the promises of God. I stand on His word.
Amen. Thank you so much for listening tonight. And we have to thank Kendall and Claudette Lewis for coming in and just opening up and sharing with us in terms of marriages and what it takes to make a marriage work. We went all over the place. We went from marital rape. We went to independency in marriage. We just went all over the place tonight. But I'd like to thank you for coming in. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you, Kevin, for your question. And just thank you guys for listening and being so positive out there. My name is Tamara Fox-Smith.
I'm Jacqueline Fernanda Moxie.
I'm Claudette Mackenzie Lewis.
Kendall Lewis.
Table of Change.
Table of Change. Good night.
Next week.
This is 1540 AM, 104.5 FM, the national voice of the Bahamas. You were listening to the program Table of Change. Special good night is extended to you and yours.
The views expressed on this show, interview, or program are not necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Number one in music, number one in talk, number one in news, number one in covering the entire Bahamas. Radio Bahamas, 1540 AM, the national voice of the Bahamas. We are simply number one.